Hi, I'm Annette Pasternak, the Stop Skin Picking Coach, and today I'm here to talk to you about therapy versus coaching, or coaching versus therapy, one or the other. So this is if you're picking your skin and you're considering seeing a therapist, or if you are seeing a therapist already and you might be curious, is there something more that you could get out of the therapy with something called coaching. Okay, so I'm going to contrast kind of what I do to some of the more typical things that I think are being done out there with therapy. So number one is the instant comfort level that people have with me. Now, this doesn't have to do with coaching versus therapy. It just has to do with working with me, the Stop Skin Picking Coach, as opposed to a typical therapist or even a specialized therapist in this field. So one of the big differences is that I myself have had this problem. I have had a skin picking problem and struggled for decades with it. And I know exactly how it is, the ups and downs and the decimated self-esteem and everything that goes along with it. So my clients feel at first that there's like a big comfort level. Basically, I was like doing this because like there's a big kind of barrier that's overcome already by knowing that the person that you're working with really understands what you're going through. So there's just more of a comfort there already that can make a big difference for a lot of people. Number two, this is all I do. So I have the depth of experience and the knowledge that comes not only from myself, but from hundreds of clients who I've helped stop or greatly reduce their skin picking. And this is not the case typically with therapists. So therapists typically are working with people with a variety of issues and a variety of problems. And while that can be a plus in some ways, if you have a lot more to deal with than the picking, if your real issue or your biggest issue right now is the skin picking, a lot of therapists don't know, first of all, a thing about this, and they just think, oh, if I can help you reduce your anxiety somewhat, it's going to be better. Whereas a lot of the anxiety actually is coming from the picking and the whole cycle of it and the withdrawal it creates when you're picking and then not picking. I'll explain that another time. But basically, a lot of anxiety comes from picking is what I'm saying. And also, a lot of therapists, even who do have training in body-focused repetitive behaviors like skin picking, they're just taking a weekend training program, and so they might not have the experience yet. The third thing is I work from a broader health context than most psychotherapists do. So skin picking is such a multifaceted problem that a lot of things contribute to it and a lot of things may need to be done to help it. And have you heard that expression, if all you have is a hammer, you think everything is a nail? And I'm not saying that therapy is that limited and or that narrowly focused, but I really pull from whatever I find works from anything. And my training as a holistic health coach has opened me up to helping people make changes in their lives and in their diets that are very impactful on skin picking. So for example, the most popular YouTube video I have is on sugar and how it impacts picking, and it has a huge impact. And that's something that most therapists are not aware of. So it could be the game changer for a lot of people. And there are other things that regard, skin picking, sometimes like incredible PMS that can be dealt with as far as diet or sleeping problems that need to be dealt with. And I just figure out whatever is hindering the picking or whatever is like hindering recovering from the picking. This is what I do. So I am working on one particular problem. This is all I work on, like I mentioned, and looking for everything that contributes to it. Whereas a lot of times it's the opposite with therapy. Like they know, if as far as they've had the training, they know some things that have been shown to impact a lot of people and help their picking, but they don't help everyone. 4, accountability. As a coach, I help people by exploiting the enormous power of accountability. I hear often that therapists tell their clients to do some things, but then they don't necessarily check in with them on the specifics, like, okay, did you do this thing from last week? And so the client tends to know, like, that they don't really have to do it. They're not being held very accountable. We all need accountability to succeed, or to succeed more at a higher level. Look, it's hard to make changes by ourselves. It's hard to make ourselves do things a lot of times. So many of us are in need of external accountability, and that's just the way it is. There's no reason to beat yourself up about it if you have that tendency. But, you know, you want to set yourself up for success rather than continually saying, I should not need someone to hold me accountable, okay? If that's the way you are, then you need someone to hold you accountable if you want to succeed, and I know that you do. So it creates success. I mean, think about it. How many Olympic athletes do you think did not have a coach? Okay, school. Even if you like what you're studying in school, or when you were in school you liked it, do you think you would have learned it as well if you didn't have tests, right? You wouldn't have studied as much, even if you enjoyed it, if you didn't have someone testing you, okay? That's accountability. Even me, like, I told my newsletter subscribers that I was going to shoot a video every week. I'm putting a new video on YouTube every week. Do you think I would have made this video today if I didn't have that voice in my head, like I said I was going to do it, and people are expecting me to do it? No, I'd probably be watching Real Housewives or something right now in a cloud of self-loathing. But here I am. So thank you, you guys. You're my accountability. So accountability breeds success. So during the call, we develop specific actions that will be what I recommend to them. And one, I give it to them in writing. So they only have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 specific things to work on that are new. And they have it in writing, so they can't forget, or they can't forget. And I don't forget either. That's the first thing I look at before I meet with them next time. And it's almost the first thing I ask them on the next call. Like, how did those things go? I let people have no illusions that they can come to coaching call after coaching call and not do the work. It's the work in between that's going to make the biggest difference. Now, I also use a daily accountability software. So coaching software that texts them at the end of the evening or at whatever time they choose, and they have to reply with a number reflecting their skin picking and possibly a comment if I ask for some things there, or when I ask for some things there. And you can see an example of that graph. You know, the program will graph it for them. The example, if you look up the sugar and skin picking, and in that video, that's what I'm showing you, is people's graphs for when they're eating sugar and then not eating sugar. So that's keeping your mind on this daily in a positive way, that like, okay, this is what I'm working for. This is what I'm working towards, and I can't just ignore it. I can't just like pretend this doesn't exist even for a little bit during the program. I have to keep doing those daily accountability things. And that creates success. Number 5 is new habits. A related note about coaching and setting yourself up for success is learning how to implement new habits. So anytime that you can make a positive habit of something that's going to help reduce your skin picking, that is a good thing. What we don't want is to have like all of these things be a constant decision every time you do them, like a decision whether you're going to meditate in the morning, or whether you're going to do some emotional freedom technique, tapping in the evening, or breathing, or, you know, eat something healthy, bring a healthy snack to work, whatever it is. Habits really help, because once something's a habit, it's easy. when something's not a habit, there's always a question of whether you're going to do it or not consistently. And that, of course, eventually leads to not doing it. And that daily, or constant, maybe many times a day decision of what you should do and whether you should do this or not, it's exhausting. And so making habits sets you up for success. So I very much work on helping clients with that. If you want to succeed from being free from skin picking, you are going to need to create new positive habits. Another contrast between therapy and coaching for skin picking is that coaching is time limited. So as opposed to open-ended. So most therapy is open-ended. There's no urgency involved. With coaching, I work with clients in a 4 or 5 month program, and there's some, this is your time. And so you're working on this hard during this time. Perceived urgency is another good thing that helps us succeed. So this 4 to 5 month time, it's enough time to figure out pretty much everything going on around your picking situationally, what's contributing to it, just for you to learn about yourself and your picking. And it's enough time to implement all the positive habits, do the heavy lifting work that it really helps to have someone tell you, okay, do this now and let's try this now, and and then get those habits in there one by one, those positive habits. And so by the end of the 4 months or the 5 months, your picking is just a very small fraction of what it started out with. Some people stop completely, but that's less typical in that time period. Your picking is such a small fraction, you feel much calmer and much more free of it. And you also have all the tools in place that are now habits, so they're easy. So you just kind of keep going with it. And I do have low cost ongoing support if that's something that, sometimes people are interested in that and we do it. But a lot of people are good to go off on their own. Yeah, the urgency helps, and knowing that you have this certain amount of time to work with me and to learn everything and to implement everything, I think it kind of helps rather than, therapy where there's not specific recommendations each time you meet, and it's a different pace, let's face it, and it requires more on your part to be, I think, self-motivated. Number 7, coaching in your own home. I work exclusively from my home in my office where I have one chair and I do all my coaching via video conferencing. So, and my clients really appreciate that, right? You don't have to go out and fight the traffic or whatever, or travel an hour to a therapist's office if you're in the middle of nowhere. I work by video conferencing. My office only has one chair in it, and I just sit at my computer and I see people who are in their own homes sitting at their computers, and they appreciate it. You don't have to fight the traffic, or you don't have to travel an hour to see a good therapist. Whatever your case is, it is convenient to do this, and it works just as well. Now, I can do that as a coach because coaches are not licensed practitioners at this point, but psychologists are, and so they're only allowed to practice in the state that they live in. So some of them do video conferencing within the state, but it's much more rare. So I see people across the United States and around the world in every continent. What has your experience been like in therapy or coaching? Please share in the comments below. And if you're interested in a free 30-minute coaching session with me, subscribe on my website, stopskinpickingcoach.com. Subscribe to the Freedom Kit and you'll receive details on how to schedule your session.